Rhys stared at the shattered towers in silence. The planet's sky was a dull gray, and dust swirled around broken spires of metal and stone. He had seen ruin before, but never such complete devastation. He stepped carefully over debris, each footfall echoing in the empty streets. The warning signal on his suit beeped softly, but he barely noticed. He was focused on one thing, the tiny whimper beneath a collapsed support beam. With cautious strength, Rhys lifted the beam just enough to peer underneath. A small figure huddled there, knees drawn to her chest. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, like moonlight, and her eyes were wide with fear. Strands of silver hair fell over her face. She trembled, and Rhys's heart clenched at the sight. He knelt down, keeping his voice calm and gentle. "I'm here to help," he said. "You are safe now." The girl looked up, confusion and relief mixing in her gaze. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Where am I?" Rhys pulled aside more. Debris and reached out his hand. "You're on Adara V," he said. "I'm Rhys, a guardian of the Galactic Patrol. I found you alone. What is your name?" She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Arya." Arya's name echoed in Rhys's mind. She was the last of her kind, survivors of a race thought extinct. Reports had mentioned a final stand by her people, but no one knew if any had lived. She was alone and afraid. Rhys felt a surge of responsibility. The code forbade Guardians from forming personal attachments to alien wards. Yet his instincts told him Arya needed him more than ever. He carried Arya to his ship's medbay, A small vessel parked amid the ruins. Inside, soft lights glowed around a single bed. Rhys laid Arya down gently and scanned her for injuries. She bore no serious wounds, only bruises and dust. He ran a simple healing protocol and then sat beside her, offering water. Arya drank, slowly, her eyes never leaving Rhys's face. "Why did they let me live?" she asked. Rhys paused. "I don't know," he admitted. "They fought to defend you. Maybe they wanted someone to remember them." Closed her eyes, memories flooding back in tears. She spoke of her home, of crystal forests and gentle rivers, of parents who had died protecting her. Rhys listened, silent but attentive, letting her grief find words. As Arya slept, Rhys accessed the ship's archives. Fleet Command had declared Arya's people extinct after the planet's rebellion. Orders stated that if any survivors were found, they would be taken to a quarantine station for study. Rhys scrolled through regulations. Guardians must remain detached. Personal care of aliens was discouraged. But Arya was not just any alien. She was a child without family, without hope. Rhys closed the file and powered down his console. When Arya awoke, she found Rhys waiting with a simple meal. He offered fresh fruit from the ship's stores. She ate slowly. After a while, Rhys spoke. "Arya, I need to tell you something. You are not alone anymore. I will protect you." Arya's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. Rhys nodded, though he knew the words might cost him his rank. Still, he felt no regret. In the days that followed, Rhys taught Arya to trust again. He helped her clean her suit and guided her through basic ship functions. Arya learned quickly, her instincts sharp. She watched Rhys with wide eyes, absorbing every gesture of kindness. The crew called from the corridor, but Rhys kept Arya close. He did not want anyone to see the bond growing between them. News of a guardian harboring a surviving alien child would spread fast. Rhys understood the risk. He might face demotion, or worse. But Arya's safety mattered more. When night fell, he showed her the stars projected on the ship's observatory dome. He pointed out distant worlds and told her stories of explorers who had brought peace across the galaxy. Arya smiled shyly, her fear melting away. One evening, Arya asked, "Will I ever see others like me?" Rhys held her hand gently. "I will search until I find them," he promised. Arya's eyes shone. "Even if it breaks rules," Rhys pressed her hand, especially then, he said. Arya leaned against him, finding comfort in his calm presence, as the ship prepared to leave Adara V. Reese set course for the nearest patrol zone. He sent a coded message to Fleet Command. Survivor found. Escort request. He watched the transmission go out, knowing the reply would arrive soon. Still, he did not waver. Arya sat beside him on the command deck, her small hand resting. On his uniform, she gazed at the stars, hope renewed. Reese activated the engines, and the ship hummed to life. Together, Guardian and Child embarked on their journey. The rules that bound Reese felt heavy, but he knew some choices were worth defying. Arya looked up at him, her silver hair framing her hopeful face. Reese offered a gentle smile the first. Warmth he had felt in days. Outside, the galaxy stretched in vast darkness, dotted with points of light. Reese guided the ship forward, Arya by his side. In that moment, he understood that protecting the last of her kind was more than duty. It was a choice born of compassion. And with each passing light year, their bond grew stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Reese steered the patrol ship through a quiet sector of space. Arya sat beside him, her small form tensed with curiosity. She pressed her face to the cool glass of the command viewport, watching distant stars glide past. Reese kept one hand on the controls and one near Arya, ready to guide or protect. They had traveled far since leaving Adara V, and each light year brought them closer to both hope and uncertainty. Arya traced patterns on the glass with her fingertip. "What are those lights, Guardian?" she asked softly. Reese smiled, pointing. "Those are nebulae," he said. "Clouds of gas and dust where new stars are born. They glow in many colors." Arya's eyes lit with wonder. "They are beautiful," she said. Reese nodded. "So is a new beginning," he whispered. The next morning, Reese introduced Arya to Lieutenant Moran, the ship's second in command. Moran was cautious. He wore a crisp patrol uniform and carried the weight of regulations on his shoulders. He glanced at Arya with polite respect, but lowered his voice when he spoke. "Guardian Reese," Fleet Command replied. "They want a full report on Arya's condition and status." Reese met Moran's gaze steadily. "I will prepare the report," he said. Moran hesitated, then added, "They may send instructions soon." Arya watched from the corridor as Reese worked at his station. She noticed lines of worry creasing his brow. She slipped closer and whispered, "Guardian, will I be safe?" Reese looked at her, his blue eyes warm. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I promise I will keep you safe," he said. Arya nodded, drawing comfort from his calm voice. That afternoon, the ship passed a communication relay. A message arrived stamped urgent. "Guardian Reese, Fleet Command orders custody. Handover of Survivor Arya. You are to deliver the ward to Quarantine Station Delta 42 within 72 hours. Failure to comply will result in disciplinary action. By order of Admiral Chen." Reese read the text with a steady expression. He turned off the display and stood. Arya looked up at him. "What does it say?" she asked. Reese knelt beside her. "They want me to give you up," he said softly. Arya's face paled. She hugged herself. Tears welled in her eyes. Reese held her hand. "I will not abandon you," he said firmly. Arya sniffled. "But it is the rule," she whispered. Reese closed his eyes. "Rules can be broken for what is right," he said. Arya wiped her tears. "Then we must find a way," she said. Reese summoned Moran and outlined a plan. They would set a course toward a remote system beyond patrol routes, where secret refugee shelters lay hidden. Rumors spoke of a safe haven called Sanctuary Point, run by ex-Guardians who had left the fleet to protect alien civilians in need. The fleet did not acknowledge Sanctuary Point, and its coordinates were known only to a few. By heading there, Reese could keep Arya safe until he found a better solution. Moran frowned at the dangerous detour. "You risk your career," he said. Reese met his eyes. "Arya's life is worth that risk," he said. Moran hesitated, then sighed. "I will help," he said quietly. Arya watched from the door, hope trembling in her chest. The ship's engines thrummed as they altered course. Arya and Reese spent the next hours preparing. Reese brought out extra clothing sized for Arya and packed rations. Arya helped folding uniforms with care. She smiled when Reese handed her fresh fruit. They shared a simple meal together in the mess hall. Arya spoke of her childhood games among crystal trees, of laughter echoing in forest halls. Rhys listened, his heart heavy. With longing for her lost home, that evening, Rhys found Arya in the ship's small garden dome. A handful of plants grew under bright lights. Arya reached out to touch a leaf of a tall fern. It brushed her fingers softly. Rhys approached and wrapped an arm around her shoulder. "This garden is my favorite part," he said. Arya nodded, breathing in the fresh scent. "It feels like life," she whispered. Rhys smiled. "We all need life, Arya." As night settled, the ship drifted through dark space. Rhys pored over star charts and scanned for sanctuary point coordinates. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Arya froze, clutching Rhys's arm. Rhys tapped controls. "External object approaching," he said. On the main viewport, the shape of a patrol cutter emerged, its hull markings clear. Rhys's heart tightened. The cutter had boarded from behind the relay. They had found him. Arya wrapped her arms around Rhys's leg. "Guardian, what will happen?" she asked, her voice trembling. Rhys knelt and looked into her eyes. "I will protect you," he said, "no matter what." Arya nodded, trusting him fully. The patrol cutter docked with a soft thud. A boarding hatch opened and two armed officers stepped onto the deck, rifles held low. One carried a data pad. Officer Talek spoke first. "Guardian Rhys, orders from Admiral Chen. Surrender the ward." Rhys rose slowly. Arya stood behind him. Rhys's gaze was calm but firm. "I cannot comply," he said. Officer Talek raised an eyebrow. "You will comply," he said. "Resistance is a crime." Rhys folded his arms. "Arya is under my protection," he said. Arya peeked from behind Rhys, fear in her eyes. Officer Talek nodded to his partner. "If you resist, we will enforce the order." Rhys glanced at Arya and then back at the officers, placed a hand on Arya's shoulder, drawing her close. "I will not let you take her," he said. Arya pressed against him. A tense moment passed. Officer Talek tapped his cum device. Rhys saw the flicker of doubt on Talek's face. Then Talek sighed and lowered his rifle. "Orders are orders," he said quietly. He gestured for his partner to stand down. Both officers stepped back. Rhys exhaled, relief flooding him. Arya clung to him, tears in her eyes. Rhys wiped her cheek gently. "You're safe," he said. Once the cutter left, Rhys closed the hatch. Arya looked up at him. "You could have taken me," she said. Rhys hugged her tightly. "I will stop them," he vowed. Arya nodded, resting her head on his chest. They stayed that way until the hum of the ship's engines was the only sound. In the days that followed, the patrol ship traveled farther from fleet routes. Rhys and Moran plotted hidden paths through nebulae and asteroid belts, avoiding sensors. Arya learned to read basic star charts and navigational data. She grew more confident each day. Rhys watched her with pride. She was brave, even when fear gripped her. She was no longer just a survivor. She was his charge, his friend, and he would do anything to keep her safe. As part 2 of their journey ended, they prepared to enter the outer sector where Sanctuary Point might lie. Arya stood by the viewport with Rhys, her silver hair drifting. In the soft air current, she looked at him and smiled. "I believe in you," she said. Rhys returned the smile, his heart steady. "And I believe in you," he replied. Together, Guardian and Ward faced the unknown reaches of space. Rules could threaten them, and forces might hunt them, but their bond was their strength. They pressed onward, ready for whatever the galaxy would bring. Rhys guided the patrol ship through a narrow corridor of space, stained by the glow of distant stars. Arya sat at his side, eyes fixed on the view. The console chimed softly, signaling an incoming distress beacon. Rhys tapped controls to analyze. The signal came from a convoy of refugee transports under attack by raiders. The convoy carried hundreds of alien civilians, many wounded and defenseless. Rhys felt a sharp pull in his chest. He glanced at Arya, whose face was pale with concern. Arya whispered, "Can we help them?" Rhys met her gaze and nodded. Have to try, he said. He reached for the comm switch and hailed the convoy. His voice was calm but urgent. This is Guardian Reese of Patrol Ship Artemis. We are responding to your distress signal. Hold tight. Static crackled, then a weary voice replied. We are under heavy fire. Shields failing, civilians falling. Reese's jaw tightened. Fleet protocol required him to report back and wait for reinforcements. But he knew reinforcements might not arrive in time. Arya watched him decide. She saw the conflict in his eyes, duty to the fleet or duty to life. Reese set his jaw and overrode standard orders, engaged the ship's weapons and shifted into attack position. The patrol ship rocketed toward the convoy. Passing between shattered freighters and burning transport hulls, laser bolts crossed the void, striking debris and sending sparks of light into the dark. Arya gripped Reese's arm as the ship rolled to avoid incoming fire. Reese kept his voice steady. Stay back, Arya. I need you safe. Arya nodded, pressing herself into her seat. Reese targeted the raider ships. He fired warning shots to draw their attention. The raiders snarled and chased the patrol ship away from the convoy. Reese led them on a wild pursuit, weaving through asteroids and skimming close to wreckage. Arya held her breath as the hull rattled with each near miss. After several tense minutes, Reese lured the raiders into a cluster of dense debris. He then reversed course, firing precise shots to disable their engines. One raider ship spun out of control, its hull cracked and drifting. The other two retreated, their weapons offline. Reese breathed out a long sigh. Arya looked at him with wide, grateful eyes. The convoy commander hailed them again. Her voice was trembling but full of relief. Thank you, Guardian, you saved us. Reese tapped his cum. We're not done yet. I'm telling Fleet Command, you saved lives. He paused. Send medical teams to these coordinates. Arya joined Reese at the console as he sent a full report. She watched the message go through and smiled. Reese returned her smile, but his face was serious. He knew he had broken protocol. The fleet would notice. As med drones arrived, Reese lowered shields and maneuvered the ship to help evacuate wounded. Arya moved carefully, carrying small medical kits to freighter hatches. Despite her fear, she worked with quiet determination. A wounded child reached out to her, and Arya knelt to offer water. The child's eyes flickered with hope, and Arya's heart swelled. Once the most urgent wounds were treated, Reese and Arya guided refugees into shuttle bays. Each face carried gratitude and pain. Reese saw an elder alien, her skin like polished stone, leaning on a staff. The elder spoke softly as Arya approached. You are brave, child, the elder said, placing a withered hand on Arya's shoulder. Arya bowed her head. I learned from my guardian, she said. The elder nodded and turned to Reese. Your choice saved many lives today, Guardian. You have broken the rules, yes, but you have honored life. My people will remember this gift. Reese stared at the elder, surprise mixing with relief. Thank you, he said quietly. The elder raised her staff slightly as a gesture of respect. We will help you, she said. We know of Sanctuary Point. We can guide you there. Reese felt hope bloom. He exchanged a glance with Arya, whose eyes shone with joy. He knew the elder's offer could change everything. Sanctuary Point had been a legend and outlaw refuge hidden beyond fleet borders. With guidance, they might reach it safely. Before they could plan, the console beeped with an incoming secure message from Fleet Command. Reese's stomach tightened. He opened the message. It read, Guardian Reese, we have reviewed your report. Your assistance to the convoy is commendable. However, you disobeyed direct orders by engaging enemy forces without authorization. Prepare to justify your actions before the Admiralty Council on return. The message ended. Reese closed the cum and turned to Arya. She reached for his hand. They will be angry, she said softly. Reese met her gaze, determination shining in his eyes. I expect it, he said. But saving lives was worth it. Arya squeezed his hand. The elder and her people finished boarding the shuttles. Before leaving, she approached Reese again. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten, she said. When you face the council, speak of what we saw. Speak of hope. Rhys bowed. I will, he promised. Arya offered her a sad smile. The elder pressed a small crystal into Arya's hand. For guidance, she said. We'll light your way. Arya clutched the crystal and nodded. Once the convoy shuttles departed, Rhys set a new course. He activated secret coordinates from the elder's data. The patrol ship shifted into warp, propelling them toward Sanctuary Point. Arya held the crystal up to the light, watching it glow faintly. As stars stretched into lines, Arya turned to Rhys. What will happen when we reach Sanctuary? She asked. Rhys rested a hand on her shoulder. We will find friends who understand why. We broke the rules, he said. Arya smiled. Hope brightened her eyes. And then we will find others like me? She asked. Rhys nodded. Yes, he said. Arya settled into her seat, the crystal warm in her palm. Rhys monitored the ship's systems, aware of the coming challenges. He thought of Fleet Command and of the Admiralty Council that awaited his explanation. Felt nervous, but he did not regret his choice. He had learned something vital. Sometimes rules must bend for what is right. Outside the viewport, the void of space was silent and deep. Within the ship, Guardian and Ward sat side by side, bound by their shared resolve. They journeyed onward, guided by a crystal's light and by the memory of lives they had saved. Whatever lay ahead, they faced it, together. Rhys held Arya's hand as the patrol ship dropped out of warp. Before them lay Sanctuary Point, a hidden station carved into the side of a rocky moon. Its hull was rough and patched, lit by soft green lights that glowed like moss on stone. The station's shape was irregular, as if built over centuries by many hands. Rhys felt a mix of relief and nervousness. They had made it this far. The Sanctuary Point was unknown to Fleet Command, and that meant both refuge and risk. Arya pressed her forehead to the viewport, studying the station's outline. It looks alive, she whispered. Rhys nodded. It was built by Guardians and aliens together, he said. They chose compassion over orders. Arya turned to him. Will they help us? Rhys smiled gently. Yes, he said. They will guide us. Rhys keyed the docking sequence. The ship aligned with a narrow entrance and glided into a tunnel carved through rock. Inside, lamps revealed tunnels and arches. The patrol ship docked at a makeshift bay. Rhys and Arya stepped into the airlock, breathing in recycled air tinged. With the scent of damp stone, liaison officer, Draven, met them on the bay. He was tall and lean, with streaks of silver in his dark hair. His uniform was faded, but his eyes held a steady kindness. He bowed slightly. Guardian Rhys, Ward Arya welcome to Sanctuary. Arya curtsied awkwardly, and Rhys offered a small bow in return. Draven smiled. We heard of your bravery. Come, you will rest and meet the council. They followed Draven through winding corridors. Alcoves held small gardens, and alcoves held workshops where alien and human voices hummed. In quiet conversation, Arya pointed to a corner where children of many races played with simple toys carved from wood and metal. Her eyes brightened. Rhys squeezed her hand. This is home for many, he said. At last they reached a high chamber where 6 figures sat around a rough-hewn table. Each figure wore a mix of human and alien attire. An elder with skin like green marble nodded at Rhys. Guardian, she said. We are grateful for your courage. Rhys knelt. Only did what felt right, he said. The elder smiled. Compassion is the truest guide. Arya stepped forward, clutching the crystal the elder had given her. She held it out. This helped us find you, she said. The council member beside the elder reached out and touched the crystal, which glowed softly. It carries the light of hope, the member said. We will help you, child, Draven spoke, his voice low. Fleet Command is tracking you. A patrol squadron is on approach. They will arrive within 1 standard hour. Rhys's heart clenched. Arya looked up at him. What will we do? Rhys met Draven's eyes. We prepare, he said. Cannot let them take Arya. The council members exchanged glances. One rose a tall alien with eyes like amber flames. We will defend Sanctuary, the alien said. Our shields are old, but they hold. Another council member, a human woman with a gentle voice, added, "We can buy time by jamming fleet sensors. It will give us an edge." Rhys moved to a nearby console. "I will position the patrol ship as a shield," he said. Arya's eyes widened. "You will risk yourself again." Rhys knelt beside her. "If it keeps you safe, yes," he said. Arya pressed her hand to his cheek. "Then I will help," she said. Rhys hugged her close. "Thank you," he whispered. Outside, warning lights pulsed through the station. Draven led them back toward the docking bay. "We have minutes," he said. "Go now." Rhys and Arya boarded the patrol ship. The bay doors closed, and the ship slid back into the rocky tunnel. The station's bulkheads lowered like jaws closing. Rhys piloted the ship into an open cavern beside the station. He activated the engines at low power, creating a barrier for the station's main entrance. Outside, the squadron of patrol vessels glowed against the black. Fleet command ships moved with precision, their weapons primed. Arya strapped into a console seat beside Rhys. "I am scared," she said softly. Rhys reached for her hand. "I know," he said. "But you are not alone." Back at Sanctuary Point, council members activated old sensor jammers. The pulse of energy rippled through space, hiding the station's signature. Fleet ships flickered, then shifted course momentarily in confusion. Draven spoke over the com. "They have lost our trail. We have time." Rhys exhaled. "Good," he muttered. Arya watched the viewport as the patrol ships paused, searching. Suddenly, one patrol ship broke away. "Go." It aimed its weapons at the patrol ship shielding the entrance. Rhys's jaw set. He switched to weapons mode. "They will force us out," he said. Arya's face paled. "What if we cannot hold?" Rhys glanced at her. "Then we run," he said. "That is our promise. I protect you." The squadron regrouped and fired. The patrol ship rocked under energy blasts. Arya felt the hull tremble. Rhys fought to keep the ship steady. He returned. Fire, targeting the lead vessel's shields. The station's entrance glowed red as secondary blasts struck the bulkheads. Rhys knew the station could breach. Arya gripped her seat. Sparks flew across the console. Then a bright pulse surged through. The patrol ship's system. Draven's voice crackled in. "We have a plan B." A moment later, a beam of energy emerged from the station's surface, striking the lead patrol vessel. The vessel shuddered and drifted away, disabled. The rest of the squadron broke off and retreated. The station's shields held. Rhys guided the ship back toward the station's bay. Arya exhaled heavily. "We did it," she said. Rhys smiled but looked tired, as he said, "But this is only the first test." Arya reached for his hand. "I have faith in you," she said. Rhys knelt to her level. "And I have faith in you," he replied. The patrol ship docked once more. The bay doors opened, revealing council members and station folk cheering softly. Arya stepped out and ran into the elder's arms. Ace followed, greeted by Draven and the council. The elder pressed the crystal into Arya's hand again. "Your light saved us all," she said. Rhys bowed his head. "All life matters," he said softly. Draven placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have shown the true duty of a guardian," he said. Arya looked up at Rhys, her silver hair glowing in the green light. "We belong here," she said. Rhys smiled and lifted her into his arms. "We do," he said. As Sanctuary Point settled back into calm, Rhys' new challenges remained. Fleet Command would not forget this defiance. The Council offered safe passage for Arya among their hidden channels. Rhys would need to decide whether to stay and defend or leave to face the Admiralty Council. But for now, they had sanctuary, friendship, and hope. And that was enough to light their path ahead. Rhys stood at the edge of Sanctuary Point's main chamber, watching Arya play among other children. Her laughter echoed softly in the stone hall. He felt both pride and sorrow. Pride that Arya had found friends and joy. Sorrow that rules and duty pulled him away from her. Draven approached, his face serious. "Guardian Rhys," he said low, "Fleet Command demands immediate surrender of your ship and your person. They threaten to send a full armada if you do not comply." Rhys closed his eyes. He knew this moment would come. He looked at Arya through the open doorway, her silver hair catching green light. She looked back and waved. Rhys lifted a hand. In return, then faced Draven. "What time do I have?" he asked. Draven checked a datapad. 2 standard hours, he replied. After that, they will fire on Sanctuary Point. Rhys nodded. He walked to Arya and knelt beside her. Arya paused her play and ran to him. She climbed into his arms, wrapping her small legs around his waist. Rhys hugged her tight. Arya pressed her cheek to his chest. "Guardian, I do not want you to go," she said quietly. Rhys stroked her hair. "I must," he said. "They will destroy this place if I stay. I will draw them away. Must stay with your friends here. You will be safe." Arya's eyes filled with tears. She held his face. "I do not want to lose you again," she whispered. Rhys kissed her forehead. "You will not lose me," he said. "Promise me you will live, learn, and one day help others." Arya nodded, her voice trembling. "I promise," Rhys set her down gently. She ran to the elder who had guided them before. Arya pressed herself close to the elder's side. Rhys watched, his heart aching. Then he turned and walked to the docking bay. Inside the bay, the patrol ship glowed under soft lights. Rhys stepped aboard and felt its familiar hum. He moved through the corridors, gathering supplies. He prepared a low-power distress beacon to mark his course. He packed a small case with personal items, a folded uniform, a tattered photo of Arya's first smile, and a data chip with Sanctuary Point's coordinates. He set the chip's lock code to his voice print. Lieutenant Moran appeared at the cockpit door. His face was stern but resolute. "You know the risks," he said. Rhys nodded. "I will not ask you to come," he said. Moran's jaw tightened. "I'm not leaving you," he said. Rhys turned, surprised. "You could be court-martialed," he said softly. Moran smiled sadly. "You taught me compassion is as vital as duty," he said. "I stand by you," Rhys grasped Moran's arm. "Thank you," he said. The engines powered up. Rhys and Moran took their seats. Rhys opened a secure channel to Fleet Command. His voice was firm. "This is Guardian Rhys. I will comply. With your orders, but only if you spare Sanctuary Point. Set your weapons to stun on my ship alone. I will lure your fleet away. Then you may arrest me without harming innocents." The Admiral's reply crackled back. "We will consider your terms. We launch in 30 minutes. Channel closed." Rhys activated the ship's thrusters. He felt the craft shudder. Moran monitored the bay. Outside, the bay doors began to close. Rhys glanced at Moran. "Ready?" he asked. Moran nodded and toggled manual override, keeping the doors open just long enough for the ship to slip out. Once clear, Rhys guided the ship upward and away from Sanctuary Point. Arya watched from the station's high balcony. Draven stood beside. Arya's lips moved in silent prayer. Travan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He carries our hope," he said. Arya wiped her tears. "I know," she said. Back on the ship, Rhys plotted a course toward a cluster of star systems known for dense asteroid fields. He would use the field to hide from fleet scans. Moran adjusted the trajectory. Rhys pressed the distress beacon. Button. The beacon pulsed red across space. He watched the stars shift as they entered the field's edge. Outside, fleet vessels emerged into the asteroid belt's outskirts. Bright searchlights swept over floating rock. Rhys felt the craft's hull vibrate as small asteroids brushed its shields. Moran engaged jammers to scatter sensor sweeps. Rhys's voice was calm. "They are coming," he said. When the first patrol ship appeared on sensors, Rhys steered toward it. He fired a flare to draw its attention. The ship charged, weapons hot. Rhys led it on a chase through tight gaps. Hull plating scraped against stone. Inside, Arya's photo on the console trembled. Moran rested a hand on Rhys's shoulder. "You hold them as long as possible," he said. Rhys nodded. Each vessel from the fleet pursued in turn. Rhys used the ship's agility to weave and dodge. He targeted engines to disable pursuit craft without destroying them. Sparks flew across space, lighting asteroids. After disabling 3 ships, Reese diverted power to shields and engines. He could feel exhaustion in his bones. Moran watched gauges and whispered status updates. Finally, the fleet admiral's flagship emerged. Its presence dwarfed small escorts. All weapons targeted Reese's ship. A deep voice came over. "Come. Guardian Reese, you have 10 minutes to surrender, or we fire live rounds." Reese exhaled. He set the helm toward the belt's core. "Prepare for maximum speed," he said. Moran tightened his harness. Reese engaged the engines fully. The ship rocketed into the belt. Massive rocks loomed ahead. Reese weaved between them at breakneck pace. Explosions from disabled fleet ships echoed behind. Moran held steady. Alarms rang as shields flared. Outside, the belt's rocky walls glowed with starlight. Reese risked one final maneuver. He dropped into a narrow trench. The fleet flagship tried to follow but scraped its hull. It became stuck. Fleet escorts pulled back to assist. Reese used the moment to jam comms and boost engine thrust. The ship burst out of the trench and toward deep space. Moran cheered softly. Reese allowed himself a tight smile. Then he saw the readings. Engines near overload. Shields low. He keyed a message to Fleet Command. "I surrender. Do not fire. We'll stand trial." He sent it and cut transmission. As the ship exited the asteroid field, Reese looked back at the trapped flagship. He felt both triumph and dread. The ambush had saved Sanctuary Point, but now he faced the consequences alone. Moran reached over. "You did what was right," he said. Reese nodded, eyes distant. Arya's promise echoed in his mind. Silent and worn, the patrol ship drifted toward fleet lines. Reese sat upright, preparing for a rest. Moran stood guard at the console. Together, they faced whatever judgment came next. And somewhere behind them, Arya would wait, her hope carried on each passing star. Reese stood before the Admiralty Council in a stark chamber, his uniform crisp despite the weight of his actions. The council's seats rose in tiers around him, each officer silent as the Guardian prepared to hear his fate. Arya watched from a sealed observation room, her small hand pressed to the glass, hope and fear in her eyes. The head of the council spoke first, her voice measured. "Guardian Reese, you are charged with disobeying direct orders, endangering fleet vessels, and harboring an unauthorized ward." She paused, allowing the gravity of the charges to settle. Reese bowed his head but remained composed. "I accept responsibility," he said simply. Next, representatives from the refugee convoy testified. The convoy commander described how Reese's swift intervention saved hundreds of lives. The wounded child Arya had comforted spoke through a translator, holding up a simple wooden toy as proof of her guardian's kindness. Murmurs of approval rippled through the chamber. Fleet officials then presented their case. They detailed the risks to protocol and chain of command. "Our rules exist to maintain order," one officer declared. Guardian Reese's actions, though well-intended, set a dangerous precedent. Reese's gaze remained steady. He listened with respect, knowing that both life and law mattered. When it was Reese's turn, he rose and addressed the council. "My duty is to protect life," he said quietly. "I broke orders because saving Arya and the convoy was more than protocol. It was compassion. A guardian's true duty lies in preserving hope." His words echoed in the hushed chamber. The council deliberated in private. Arya paced in her observation room, clutching the crystal that had guided her. Each tick of the chamber's clock felt endless. Finally, the council's doors opened, and the head returned to deliver judgment. Arya's heart pounded. "Guardian Reese," the head began. "Your actions, though unauthorized, proven the power of compassion. We hereby revoke your command rank and assign you to Refugee Affairs Liaison. You will serve without command authority for 1 standard year." Reese inclined his head. "And so you shall receive a commendation for valor and humanitarian service." The head added relief and pride washed over Arya as she watched the live feed. Reese bowed again to the council. Though he had lost his rank, he gained a new purpose. Outside the chamber, a small delegation of aliens and humans waited to offer congratulations. After the trial, Rhys returned to his small quarters. Arya slipped inside, her eyes bright. She ran to him and threw her arms around his legs. Rhys knelt and embraced her. The council showed mercy, he said. Arya smiled through tears. Saved us, she whispered. Rhys took from his drawer a simple wooden carving, the toy Arya had held during testimony. He handed it to her. This belongs to you, he said. Arya held it close. I will remember you always, she said softly. Rhys pressed his forehead to hers. And I will watch you grow. In his new role as liaison, Rhys traveled between patrol outposts and refugee shelters. He advised on policies to protect wards and civilians. His experience became the basis for proposed reforms in Guardian training, teaching that empathy was as vital as obedience. Arya thrived at Sanctuary Point under the Council's care. She studied languages, history, and guardianship values. She made friends of many species, sharing her story and her guardian's lessons of courage. Her laughter once more filled the station's halls. Months later, Rhys visited Sanctuary Point. Arya raced down the corridors to greet him. They shared a joyful embrace under the green-lit arches where they had first found safety. Council members and children cheered their reunion that day. Council announced a policy change. Guardians could petition to adopt alien wards when their homeworlds were lost. A new symbol, a crystal entwined with the Guardian's emblem, marked this law of compassion. Rhys and Arya stood before the gathered refugees as the first recipients. Rhys spoke to the assembly. Today we honor not only the laws that bind us, but the hearts that guide us, he said. Arya stood beside him, holding the crystal that had begun their journey. Together, they embodied a new vision of guardianship. In the days that followed, stories of their journey spread across the fleet. Young Guardians volunteered for refugee duty. Councils debated further reforms. The galaxy, once bound by rigid rules, opened its doors to hope. One evening, Rhys and Arya stood on the observatory deck, gazing at distant nebulae. Arya leaned against him. What comes next? She asked. Rhys smiled and pointed to the stars. New worlds, new friends, new lives to protect, he said. Arya nodded, her silver hair glowing in the starlight. Their journey had begun with sacrifice and rule-breaking, but it ended in unity and renewal. Side by side, Guardian and Ward looked to the horizon, ready to face tomorrow's challenges together, guided always by compassion, intellect, and the bond that had broken all the rules.